Morning, everybody. I hope you're all well and in great spirits. First off, I just want to say that, I see a lot of people have found their morality and their outrage at egregious behavior. And that's wonderful. But I walk a lonely path because I've seen those same folks shield for that behavior, condone it, and even attack people who called it out. And now they're outraged by it. I think they showed me who they were when they were benefiting from it. And so while everybody's celebrating their newfound morality, I'm sitting back thinking, your morality is convenient. And I'll leave it at that. What I really want to talk about is the Cheeto movie about Flaming Hot Cheetos. I saw myself so much in that protagonist. I saw the stories around me in that protagonist. So in the beginning, he's struggling to find employment. He's running the streets with, his friends that also run the streets. And in the movie, they're tatted up, dressed with the Chicano style of the street culture in California. So when that culture was popular, my friends dressed like that. I dressed like that. We didn't have all the tattoos, but, we had a certain dress code. And when people saw that dress code, they knew you were from the hood and, you embraced a lot of the hood culture. And that puts you at a disadvantage when trying to get a job. And the movie shows the guy going through that. Finally, he gets a job as a janitor. Now, maybe I might have actually gotten most jobs that I applied for. And like the best jobs I got, I never even applied for them. People would just come to me and say, hey, do you want to do this? And I was like, hell yeah. But I have hit like the glass ceiling of sorts because of my lack of education. I've seen places where you could be the dumbest shit, and if you look great on paper, you're going to get the job before the person that doesn't look great on paper but has common sense and vision. In fact, I think Albert Einstein said, an educated man does not equal a learned man. And you could educate someone in the finest schools and they can't do anything outside of what they were educated to do. Whereas if you're poor, that breeds resourcefulness. You learn to figure things out. You learn to make things work. At least that's been my own experience. So, we had a nonprofit that would help us with job training, interviewing skills, resume writing skills. And you had to go to these little classes and then they would send you to an interview. It was for a program for at-risk youth. The feds, even though I criticized the government, they kicked down these community block grants that nonprofits locally would get, and then they would use that money to pay your salary somewhere. So they got to help the community. The business got a free employee, and the feds were lifting people up through this program. At least that's what it did for me. I also have friends that went through it who ended up doing decades in jail. Straight shots, for it didn't work for them. But I remember when we would get jobs through this thing. Sometimes they were janitor jobs. Sometimes they were office jobs. I got a mailroom job in a government agency through this program. My salary was $4.25 an hour. And when the homies would get these jobs, like a janitor job, there was a sense of pride in that. Like, man, I made it, homie. I'm the janitor at the school. I'm stable. I'm set. When, well, it was a temporary job, but you knew it could lead to that becoming who you were. And at least around me, the custodians, janitors, whatever you had to call them that worked at the schools, they owned their homes. One lived next door to me when I lived in Oak Park, and they had like the nicest house. It was a brick house. They were cool people. He was the custodian. I mean, like, in a lot of ways, when you don't have a lot growing up, you made it. We lived in the housing projects. Our parents, other people's parents would take turns driving to the field. People would give them gas money. They'd come back. Maybe next week, someone else would put the wear and tear on their car to go to the field. And so a janitor job was like a big step up, right? So the guy gets the job and he feels like a king because he got a job, because they let him in the door, because they gave him an opportunity to show them who he is, what he can do. That's what he's celebrating, actually. You might not know it, and I maybe didn't know it, but that's what we were celebrating. Someone giving us an opportunity to show what we're capable of. And so I could relate to that. I could relate to the difficulties getting the job, the barriers that exist based on just appearance or paperwork and not your actual ability. And these things are designed to help keep people down in some ways. In some ways it lifts people up. But so he gets the job, and it shows him working really hard and asking people about like how their machines work and what they do, trying to be helpful, trying to soak everything up, because he's just naturally curious. He has high morale. He's excited. He didn't go there like, fuck, I'm the janitor. Man, those guys, they all got it better. I should be up there. And it's okay to think I can make it up there, but to just be bitter about it, that wasn't his way. He wanted to learn. He wanted to help. And in one scene, it shows him cleaning, and one of the people that's also a janitor tells him, hey man, don't work so hard. But he kept working hard. And that happened to me once, which led to a fight. This big old white dude was just mad, and they like started calling me paisa, because I was working harder than everybody, and they thought I was making them look bad. And they're like, man, this is just like a menial. It was a menial job to them. To me, it was a job where I could be the best at something. Not because I don't like these guys, not because of this, not because of that, but because I just wanted to be the best for me. And so, like, this dude rushed me. And then the owner came and broke it up. And then the same, like, even Chicanos that didn't like that I was working hard, one comes up to me and gives me a knife. He goes, hey, in case you got to deal with dude. He was trying to set me up. And then I go up to the dude and I go, hey, man, let's go to the back of the building and we'll deal with it. So I think I'm being noble. I'm walking out the front. He's walking behind me. Like, I gave him my back. And as soon as we get outside the building, I feel him punch me in the back of the head. So we turn around and start fighting. The owner runs up again. And now he's pissed because he broke it up inside. Now he's breaking it up outside. And he had a client with him. Like, we were making him look bad. So we go back inside, and lunchtime rolls around. And at lunch, he has his little lunch box open, his coveralls, because he was the chrome plater. They're like tied around his waist. He's got his boots like he untied his shoelaces, and he's kicking back, eating a sandwich with all the guys around him. And all these guys been working together for a long time. I was the outsider. And he's like shooting the breeze. And I walk up to him and I go, hey, man, this is our own personal time now. Let's deal with it. And he goes, you motherfucker. You motherfucker. I'm going to fuck your... He was so mad that I had the heart to call him out. So he gets up, he fucking zips up his thing, ties up his laces. And I should have rushed him because he already rushed me twice, like trying to snake me. But I don't know. I guess, like my kid told me yesterday when we were gonna race, I was acting like I was gonna take off. He goes, "Don't worry, I won't run till you go first. I ain't cheap like that." So I guess I ain't cheap like that either, because I didn't rush him while he was tying up his shoes, and I could have. He gets up, boom, we start getting into it, and I start winning. And then he like, we break up, and then he goes, "You want some more? You want some more?" And I'm like, "Well, we're not done yet." So he rushes me, and this time, like, I grab him in the headlock and I'm hitting him. And when he pulls back, he's like, "You lucky I don't want to fuck you up." And he was hella bigger than me. He goes, "You lucky I don't want to fuck you up." And I'm like, he was trying. And so I said, "All right, man, I guess you had enough." And I left. And then I knew where he lived, so I kind of followed him around a little bit just to like let him know, "Hey, man, I don't know if I've had enough of you yet, or have my fill of justice because you did me wrong." But anyways, I way digressed. So they're sweating him about it, but he keeps pushing. And eventually he starts winning people over. But in the beginning, one of the janitors pulls him to the side and says, "Look, those are the plant supervisors." And it's all white dudes in shirts with buttons and clipboards. "These are the floor managers. These are the machinists." And he explains everyone's role. And he says, "And we're the janitors. We're the lowest of the low. You don't talk to those people. You're not supposed to talk to them." And that is a culture, I guess, everywhere, in companies and agencies. It's a part of the culture. There's hierarchies. And they were explaining it to him, but he didn't let that hold him back. And he still like went up to people to try to learn. And sometimes they got annoyed with him, but eventually they saw that, he was just trying to be helpful and a good guy. So my current job, I got in part because of letters of recommendation that I had gotten when I did that program for at-risk youth. They had put me in the mailroom at Caltrans. And I was there for 3 months. I got an award from the director, and I got these glowing letters of recommendation that said when he's done with his projects, he goes and asks people if he can help them with theirs. He's always trying to learn how the machines work. This was in the mailroom. And I was applying for a mailroom job. And so those glowing letters that basically described what the guy in the movie was doing when he was at the plant, trying to help other people, trying to do those things. And I made a video where I've said that, if you just be the best person you can be, money will just come to you. The universe will look out for you. Like I said, the best jobs I've had, I didn't apply for them. I didn't go looking for them. People who were influential came to me and said, "Hey, can you do this for us?" And I did it, excellently, I think. Because of my loyalty to myself, being, trying to be an excellent person. And so the guy sees that Cheetos and Doritos, that they don't have the raza flavor to them. And everywhere he looks, because I think he's in LA, there's raza. And he's like, "Man, these people, we're invisible to them." In my advocacy, that's what I do, show government officials, look, these communities are invisible. You're neglecting them. You pretty much wrote them off. And that's not cool. So he gets an idea that the Cheetos, if they were spiced up, would appeal to the raza. Because we were already putting spices on fruit, on elotes, on chile on tacos. Like, we loved spices, and there were so many of us here. It just made sense. It was like a no-brainer to him. He was a visionary. He could see what other people don't. And so he sneaks into the office, and he gets the CEO's number, and he calls him. And the CEO also came up you know, from as a poor immigrant, and valued resourcefulness and visionaries over just like a piece of paper that says you have this education, but you get stuck as soon as you encounter anything that you weren't taught. You know, you can be taught to do things, and that's a good mind. But the most excellent minds figure out how to do them even if they're not taught. And that guy, he was kind of like that. And so he takes a chance. And at the time, the chip company, Frito-Lay, is going down. They're laying off workers. They're not selling as many chips. And when they listen to this guy, the CEO ends up listening to him. He took a big chance calling him. He got in a lot of trouble for breaking rank. And it's like that. It's really like that. If you have a phenomenal idea that you know the person at the top will love because maybe you guys are both great thinkers, everyone else in between is no, don't talk to them. You can't talk to them. It's pretty crazy. Like, and you know, I cause a stir off it because sometimes the top people will call me and everyone in between is stuck and they still don't want us to talk. Like, it throws their world in chaos somehow. And so everyone turned against him for doing that. But at the end, he does save the company, and Flaming Hot Cheetos become $1 billion industry. As mentioned, you know, I got a job in the mailroom, but eventually, you know, I was working in the executive office and not as a secretary, you know, out in the community, stewarding relationships. And so and in that capacity, I had visions that are movements now. I can't say what they are or take credit because it wasn't under my own accord. It's, you know, it's not my intellectual property because I was being paid to do these things. And so they don't belong to me. They belong to the people that were paying me. But I saw myself in that guy, and I really, really liked the movie because of that. Now, as a justice advocate, I would be remiss if I didn't say that there's a story out there that says he took the idea from a coworker, a Mexican lady. You know, so it was another raza person. And that's an alternate story. As a justice advocate, again, I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention that and give you the opportunity to go research it. But I also think that someone who strives to go above and beyond, to go help others when they're done with their projects, and because I saw myself in that person so much, I don't think that would be the type of person to steal someone's idea. That's for people who take shortcuts, who don't want to do the hard work, is generally what I'm thinking. I'm sure there's super ambitious hard workers who will cut your throat to get ahead as well. But I want to believe that given everything he'd done to overcome, and, you know, if the movie is true to his always wanting to help and go above and beyond and do the right thing, I don't see that as the type of person who would do that. But I don't know. I think it's a wonderful movie. I saw myself a lot in the character and the experiences he went through. And so I think the moral of the story is just try to be the best person you can, and the universe will fall into place. With that said, I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday and that you enjoyed this video. Much love.